Dun, 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 dun. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Bum, 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 bum. What's up, party people in the house?
What up, though?
Welcome to Texas Live, one of the sexiest voices in the SFL. Hey, what's up, party people of the SFL? What's going on tonight? What's going on this Thursday night? I see a whole bunch of peeps already in the show chat. Good to see everybody. I'll get to all of you in a moment. Welcome to, what is this? I better look real quick. Season 16, episode 18 of Axis Live. I am your host, Dave Axis, and check this out. I went back and I counted today. This is show number 80. 80, the big 80. That means sometime in the off season, I'm guessing, or maybe sometime this season still. I have to map it out. I'm sure Gunny will figure it out. We will get to episode 100 really soon. Tonight we've got Week 10 previews, Gunny's Pearls of Wisdom, of course. Week 9 Diva of the Week winner. We're going to have pick'ems, but there will be no After Dark tonight because I am trying to wrap this shindig up at a decent time so I can get my booty on the road for 4.5 hours driving to the... Oh, DR Sim, you going to take over the show, bro, so I can go? That would make my life a lot easier. I'd get a couple hour head start on my drive to the halls. Nate and Kendra will be hosting Dave Axis and Pink Lisa this weekend, so I'm sure I will probably photobomb Nate at some point during his time with Cam this weekend. So that'll be a lot of fun. All right, let's check out the party people in the chat. Let's see who's here tonight. Let me see. Let me scroll back real quick. What do we got? Kendra Hall's in the house. Bob Funk, Bullet Boletsky, Leon Thunderman, Bo Martin Jr., Cam Curtis, Pink Lisa, the beautiful, wonderful, amazing Pink Lisa. Gunny's here, of course. That's what she said. That's like the best name I think I ever saw in here. Doug Britton, DR Sem, Nate Hall, James Walters, 87. Kevin Say is here, Boomberry. Who else we got? Freddie. Winkler. What's up, Wink? Good to see you, buddy. Charles is in the house. Ethan Kai's here. David Leathers, the best first name in all the SFL, is with us again. Who else we got here? AJ, good to see you. Haven't seen you in a while. Good to see AJ in the house. EJ Minson's here. Twin Screw. What? Is this a Twin Screw sighting? What is going on? Dude, what is going on tonight? There's all kinds of peeps popping in that haven't been here in a while. Eddie Gage, what up, Doe? I hope you saw the last episode on Tuesday when we did the Survivor update. I'm still kind of laughing inside from that a little bit. Let me see. Jeff Duffy, what are you doing here? Everyone actually getting to catch an Axis Live live. Well, we're glad to have you. Hackers in the house. Good to see you, bro. Bryant Dynasty, who I am going to mention something about him in a moment. Actually, I'll just say it right now. I received an envelope in the mail from Hawaii today. I have not opened it because I'm going to take it with me to Ohio to the Hall's house, and I'm going to open it there, and I might even sneak it onto the show with Nate and Cam if I can figure out a way to do it. Harish is in the house. Good to see you, bro. Deion Hawkins, Crazy 8s 2000, Dwayne. BJ Loveless is here. Good to see you, bro. Let me see. Ron Cochran. And I think that's about the last person I can sneak in before we get this party started. All right, so that's the party people in the house. Let's get to our panel tonight and start talking about our Week 10 previews. You're going to notice a couple things in the in the interest of trying to get this show done a little quicker than normal tonight. I didn't do a lot of stats on the graphics. They're going to be basic graphics. We're going to go through the teams, the games like we normally do. But the Who You Got was not up yet, so I can't read any of the Who You Gots. And then, Long Arm of the Law is here. Good to see you, bro. You just popped in. And then when we go to Pick'ems, we're just going to whip through the Pick'ems real quick. We won't give any commentary. We'll just pick teams. So just to kind of give you, this is kind of like Axis Live on speed tonight. So, all right. In the unscripted circle joining us tonight is... We always talk about how sexy he is. We talk about his voice. We talk about the tight end calendar. We talk about a lot of stuff when it comes to this guy. But sometimes we forget to mention, he's a person too. He's also a tight end. And he's also the director of communications for the London Knights. The one and only Benji Matson's here. Oh, and Benji, on top of that, you do SFL commentating. Is there anything you don't do in this league?
I do it all, Dave.
You are Mr.
I do it
Benji.
all.
Do it all. That's what we love about you.
I
Moving
am a
on.
person too. You are correct.
You
So
are
thank you,
you
Dave.
are a person. You know what? I just wanted you to hear that from me personally, buddy.
I appreciate it.
All right, you got it. You're welcome. Let me see real quick. Anybody else jump in the house real quick? No, it looks like we're good. Looks like we got a packed house though. All right, in the unfiltered circle tonight, the vice president, and I always say this because it's always true, of all things that are the Fort Worth Toros, Robert Garrett Jr. is in the house. Robert, what's going on, bro?
Oh, how you doing, Dave?
I'm doing outstanding, bro. Hey, check it. So you got the hat on. You got a backwards hat on. It better not be a Carolina hat again.
It is.
Oh my goodness. What is it with you? Is it Robert Garrett Jr. to Carolina confirmed, or what's going on?
No, no.
I thought you just bought the hat that one, back in week 2 just for me, but is that true or is that just a rumor?
No, I just really like snapback hats.
Yeah, I'm with you, bro.
But I want to try to get one from each team if they're on the stores.
Gotcha. Yeah, it's DR Sim. I heard that you're returning to the booth, and Eddie Gage is going to be your sidekick. And as a matter of fact, I've got all the broadcaster names on the graphics tonight, and nice big bright lights for you guys. Moving on to the unedited circle, we have the general manager of the Vancouver. Well, here's the thing: the Vancouver Legion. But I cannot believe. Well, I'll say it on the next one, I guess. But this is a kind of a weird show to have all these Vancouver people on, is what I'm saying. But anyway, the GM of the Vancouver Legion, Mike Percoco's back with us. Mike, what's going on, bro?
The panel, we may outnumber you, but we all know that the fans outnumber us.
And there's your heavy Axis Live thought of the night. Actually, Benji, can you say that? You have a sexier voice than I do.
What? Where are we at? I'm sorry.
Never mind. Benji killed it. I'm moving on. So here's the reason why I'm feeling outnumbered tonight. At least I have a Tex-Mex division guy with me, at least, and a couple in the chat. However, I'm outnumbered by the Vancouver Legion tonight because in the unforgettable circle, we have someone debuting as a panelist on Axis Live tonight. He has done 2 other shows this week, so I said, you know what? What the hell? Let's do the trifecta, and let's bring Nate Hall, the strong safety from Vancouver, on the show. Nate, what's going on with you?
Not a whole lot. Just looking forward to this next hour and a half, but I'm really looking forward to the whole weekend, honestly, if I'm going to be honest with you.
That's what I'm saying. So check it out. So I'm wearing my Jameson hat tonight. I won this actually on St. Patrick's night when we went out. My kids were visiting with their girlfriends, and I won this hat. And I wore it as what I think is going to be a precursor to this weekend up at the Hall's house. So I will probably take this hat. I wouldn't be surprised if I actually lose it sometime over the weekend. All right, let's get this party started. Before we talk about games, I do want to mention and remind a couple people real quick where we stand with the playoffs. We're talking about playoffs? We're talking about playoffs. There you go. This is what came out over the weekend after week 9 games. So going into week 10, as you notice on the right hand side, you're going to see 1 through 12 and a few of the teams that are right on the bubble. What's interesting, and we'll talk about it in a moment, we've got a couple, I think there's at least 2 games with 2 playoff teams playing against each other this weekend. And one of them is a division game, which will make a huge splash in that division. So just wanted to give you guys a quick recap and remember how the standings look and how the yes, Harish, we talking about playoffs? Give you guys a recap on the standings, the divisional standings, and the playoffs. All right, so now you see it, and hold on. See, I'm not as quick as Wink. Now you see it. Now you don't. Okay, good. All right, let's go. Let's get things started with first game for week 10. I can't believe we're in double digits. We only have 3 games left, Benji. And things kick off with DC Dragons, one of only 2 teams that are technically officially eliminated, DC and San Diego. Everybody else still has a mathematical chance, which is kind of crazy being in week 10, a double-digit week, and 22 teams still have a chance to make the playoffs. DC traveling to Queen City, both teams struggling this season. How do you see this game playing out?
DC, I think we can all say, is playing better and better as the season goes along. Still a young squad. looking for that second win on the season. They had a big win in week 7 against the Lone Star Glory, if you remember. They played 2-game skid since that win. Tough losses to Florida and the London Knights. Both those two teams playing some stout defense. So Dragons are having some problems scoring the ball offensively, but they're kind of right in the same range as Queen City. Playing at home, Queen City 3-6. They've also been on a 2-game skid. They've been playing some tough competition. They just got done with Jacksonville and Baltimore. And so that's tough sledding there. So a divisional game here in the North. DC wants to maybe end Queen City's chances at the playoffs. And they, of course, want to go in and come out with a victory. I think this is going to be a game with premium on points. Kevin Say has been running well. DC is going to want to establish the run. Queen City has a pretty stout rush defense. In fact, both these teams on defense are real stout. Queen City, third in the league with 72 yards on the ground per game. So that's going to be a matchup to watch. Kevin Say versus the Queen City defense at home. Shabazz has been bitten by the turnover bug at times this season, but has played really well and is a good ball distributor. DC is going to have to watch out for the Queen City pass rush. I thought Jeff Duffy, is he in the audience tonight? Jeff
He
Duffy,
is.
Digger Graves, Tina Begin, David Tilley. Their entire defensive line. We've got 5.5 sacks, 6.5 sacks, and 9. David Tilley has 9. He's 6th in the season. So Queen City's got a pass rush. They're going to make life uncomfortable for Shabazz, and they're going to want to run the ball anyway. I just think there's not going to be room on the ground to run in this game. So it's going to come down to the quarterback, Shabazz versus AJ Caswell. And the turnover bug. One of these teams, I think, on defense is going to turn over the opposing quarterback. Both teams are kind of lower in the standings as far as turnover differential goes. I think it's going to come into play in this game. Whether it's going to be Shabazz or AJ who gets bit by the interception bug, I don't know. On the season, Queen City is picked off opponents 15 times, DC 9 times. So it's going to be a very evenly matched game, I think, and it's going to come down to the end. And I do think it's going to be a defense that wins it. I am going to go on record here and actually give the nod to Queen City with their pass rush and that run defense, making life a little bit difficult for DC on the road.
Quick question. You given the nod to Queen City, but if AJ throws another 6 interceptions, how does that change it?
That changes a little bit.
A little bit.
I think 6 interceptions is a game that's not easily repeated. So I think what the odds are, new game plan at home, just to wipe the slate clean. Is AJ going to throw 6 interceptions this weekend? Chances are no. And then I think they've got the defense to make life difficult for DC.
Gotcha. Well, he did throw 6 last week at Baltimore or against Baltimore at home, so we'll see how that breaks down. Jack's data has Queen City favored by only 3.5, so they're expecting a close game, but an over/under of 38.5, which is tied for the lowest over/under of the week. So not expecting a lot of points, but expecting a close game. So at least if it's a close game, we will, we'll have something to watch, something to look forward to. This is the first game this weekend, Saturday at 3:30. Colin Northrup, Charles Doherty on the call. Moving on to game 2, Robert. Vancouver, up and down season. Some win streaks, some lose streaks, but they're sitting right there at the 11th seed in the playoffs. This is a game that I feel like Vancouver can win, especially when they're number 1 in almost every offensive category. Problem is, they're near the bottom in a lot of defensive categories. Will that make a difference, or will Vancouver roll this weekend?
I think Vancouver's going to roll this weekend, honestly. They give up roughly 339 pass yards a game, but Javier Vasquez is at the top of the leaderboards in interceptions in the whole league, coming in at 3rd overall with 14 on the season. So if those defensive backs can play as they have in past games this season, I don't think they're going to have any issues.
So I want to talk about something that we feel like can give San Diego a chance. Optimus got his roster stuff rectified a couple weeks ago. He's had some decent games the last couple weeks. But tell me, what would San Diego need to do to steal victory against the hottest offense in the league?
They just need to play smart with the ball. They can't be putting in a bunch of stuff that's having Javier throw deep down the field. They got to figure out short plays, probably dink and dunk down the field. Vancouver's defensive backs have been pretty good this season, and if they can move the ball and take up a lot of time of possession in the game, as long as they're getting into the end zone while they're doing so, they could have a chance.
Someone just said in the chat, I'm trying to find it real quick, says San Diego can't score. They did only score 9 points last week against, I think it was Charleston, right? They played. But as I'm looking at the Mavericks, Jalen Wells, 19 carries for only 25 yards. He's had a couple games this season, especially early on, where he rushed for over 100 yards, and he just blew defenses away and kept San Diego in some close games. Could that be a key for San Diego as well?
I mean, they can use Jalen Wells, but as people talk a lot, he is still a fresh running back converted over from fullback, so he's still
transitioning,
building
yeah.
and transitioning. It's really tough to lean on a running back that has made that switch, unless you're really know what you're going to do with it and have a good way to figure it out.
Yeah. Mike St. Green is the one who said it. Eddie Gage said that was Mike St. Green. Say it with your chest, Mike. Looks like Doyle says San Diego has 2 trap games ahead of its schedule, at home versus Vancouver, at home versus Florida. I'm going to assume they're going to pull one of those out of their rear. I don't know about that, Doyle. I think, and we talked about this on Tuesday, I think San Diego's best chance of winning the game will probably be against Portland in Week 12. What do you think about that with just a few seconds left, Robert?
Yeah, I would definitely say that's their best chance. I mean, upset games are always a possibility, but more times than not, I think Vancouver and then even next week Florida are going to be able to pretty much take advantage of it.
Yeah, I mean, let's be honest. Vancouver number 1 in almost every offensive category. San Diego dead last in some offensive categories. So if I'm about to check the spread, I wouldn't be surprised if this is the biggest spread of the week. Jack's data. Yeah, 10.5 points, the only double-digit spread for this week. And they're expecting 51.5 points. So I don't know if they're just expecting Vancouver to blow them out and score 40 of those 50 points or not. But I would have a hard time, Robert, seeing a 30-something to 20-something game in this. Would you agree or disagree?
I mean, if they're looking specifically at some of the statistics, and Vancouver does give up about 26 points a game, coming in officially at 26.2. So maybe they're looking at it that way and trying to figure it out from there. But I also don't really see that happening unless Vancouver gets hot.
Okay, well, this is game number 2 on Saturday at 3:50. That's 3:50 p.m. Damon Simeon returning to the booth. Eddie Gage, his sidekick for that game. That'll be a fun one to watch and listen to. As we move into game number 3 on Saturday, Coco. LA, 7th seed as of right now, going to Portland. This is a divisional game. Portland only 2-7 with a very slim mathematical chance still at the playoffs. If they lose against Los Angeles, they're eliminated. Will they be eliminated this weekend?
Sorry, Art.
Sorry.
Here's the thing about Portland is they have an amazing defense, and when you look at their numbers and their totals so far on the season, we all know that Bob Funk is up there in interceptions. He actually is up there with 8. 9 pass deflections. He's always in the right spot at the right time.
Right.
And anyone who's watched Portland this year knows that they're consistently one of the top in interceptions for the season. The problem is, of course, is their offense.
Right.
Their third down percentage is at 37%. It is pretty sure it's either the league lowest or the second lowest in the league. Now, they've only had 11 passing touchdowns and 3 rushing touchdowns so far in the year. That's pretty rough. I'm not going to lie. And some people will say, "Oh, is it Matt South? Is it coaching?" I think it really has to do with coaching to an extent where if you look at their receivers, you look at their tight ends, they're still not as developed as they should be. They're not getting open, and that's not something that's going to switch in a week or two. That's something that could be fixed by next season, but it's not going to be fixed by this season. And go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say. So does Los Angeles only putting 10 points up last week against Jacksonville concern you going into this game and going down the stretch? They're a 7 seed now, but one or two more losses could knock them all the way down, or maybe even out of the playoffs.
Is Tom in the chat? Because I love saying this stat when Tom's in the chat.
I don't know if he is or not.
All right. Well, I mean, here's the thing when it comes to their 10 yards. I mean, there's certain defenses that are a little bit more harsh on them, and everybody says, "Oh, it's Sully's interceptions." And granted, his interceptions actually aren't the sore spot of LA. It's the fact that instead of Haris watch, we have gone to Sully watch, and now at 36 sacks for the season, which is an average of 4 sacks let up per game. And that is one of the reasons why they always seem off kilter. They're throwing interceptions. There's a lot of pressure on Sully. For some reason, he doesn't move out of the pocket. I'm not 100% sure. Maybe someone can enlighten me.
I'm sure some. I'm sure.
Tom
Some,
would have said something
yeah,
better.
I just looked at it, see him in there.
So, granted, we're going to see these games against certain types of defenses where they may have problems, especially when the defensive backs are pretty hard to throw against.
I saw Doug Britton put in the chat Rob versus Bob. So Rob Johnson versus Bob Funk this weekend. Rob versus Bob. Who wins the game? Real quick, Coco. We're out of time, but give me just in 10 seconds. What does Portland need to do to pull out an upset?
They need to injure Buddy Blaze and Ray Ray.
All right, there you go. Hey, what is all this talk in the chat about having two divas under one roof? Nate, why is Kendra calling you a diva? I don't get it. All right, let's see. Jack's data, LA Portland. LA favored by 6.5, so not even a touchdown. So that tells you a little something about what Jack's data, maybe the concern they have for Los Angeles after the Jacksonville game as well. An over-under of only 39.5, which is the second lowest over-under of the week. This is Saturday at 5:30 p.m. Mike Trujillo and Benji Matson, our boy Benji, on the call for that game. Number 7, LA at Portland, who is 2-7 and on the verge of being officially eliminated from the playoffs. Moving on to Game 4. Nate, first of all, welcome to the show. Thanks for being here. How you feel about being a panelist?
Feel great. Thanks for having me.
You got it, bro. Atlanta versus St. Louis, another divisional game. Two teams within a game of each other. I don't know how this will go down because I can see it going one of two different ways, but what do you think?
Okay, so let me start off by saying that both teams are on losing streaks right now, which is not good this far into the season. Atlanta is on a 2-game losing streak, and we all know what's going on in St. Louis right now. They started off hot at 5-0, and they've lost 4 straight. But St. Louis has a game at home, and I think if there's a game that they could win this weekend, this is it. They're at home against Atlanta. Bryant Dynasty has showed a little bit of weakness in the last couple of weeks, throwing some picks here and there, and I think they can get it turned around this week. But Atlanta's got, if they want to stop CB12, they've got to find a way to stop him, or else he's going to have a big game. That secondary for Atlanta last week, they allowed 3 passing touchdowns, all received by Bryce Battle. So they've got to get it tightened up in that secondary.
So let me ask you 2 questions. You can answer them both without, just back to back. Right. What do you think? Do you think Brian Dynasty is having the sophomore slump? And number 2, what do you think the reason is for St. Louis's 4-game losing streak?
Okay, so part 1 of that question, I do think he is on a slump of sorts in the sophomore season of his career. And I think that's due to more teams is getting more film on him from last season. They're figuring out how to slow him down and figure out how to defend him when they play him for their games. Um, as far as the second question goes, I can't really put a finger on it, but CB12 has had his struggles.
Right.
He's thrown his share of picks also in the last few games, and they haven't really gotten much from a balance perspective on the offense. They're relying too much on the rookie arm of CB12 right now, and I think teams are starting to figure that out and try to defend on their passing game as well.
Yeah, on that, I mean, Cairo Martinez, 19 carries, which isn't terrible for 108 yards. He averaged almost 6 yards per carry. But Christian Brown still threw the ball 40 times in their loss to Tulsa last week. He threw no touchdowns, 4 interceptions, bro, and only completed 60% of his passes. If he has a game like that against Atlanta, can St. Louis win this game?
I really don't think so, because I think BDG Hollywood has more of a presence in Atlanta's backfield than Cairo Martinez does over in St. Louis.
Right.
So if Atlanta can make St. Louis one dimensional and make them rely on CB12's arm again, I think it could be a long day for St. Louis again.
Yeah, real last thing too. Does Atlanta need to get BDG back involved in the game? They did not do that last week. Is that key for them to beat St. Louis this week?
When BDG is on, it's hard to stop that team, so they definitely need to get him going this weekend.
I completely agree with you. Jack's data has Atlanta favored by 6 on the road at St. Louis. So Jack's data having some concerns and potentially expecting a 5-game losing streak for St. Louis to even their record at 5-5 this weekend. Over under a 47.5, which is about middle of the road for this week. This game is on Saturday, 6:05 p.m. Mike Daggs with his best friend Matt Wilson on the call going into Game 5 on Saturday. Benji, back to you. This is my favorite game and one of, I believe, only 2 games. I might be mistaken, but I think there's only 2 games this week that have 2 playoff teams playing against each other. Lone Star coming off a huge victory against Mexico City. Can they take that momentum into Baltimore and steal another one?
I think they absolutely could. I think from the get-go of the season, everyone thought Lone Star Glory was going to be a great team. Playoff team last year, getting stronger year 2 with Ace Finnick at the helm, all these weapons. 5-4 at the season, but which at first glance you might not think that's 5-4. But there are a lot of teams that are 5-4. I guguess
9 of them. Yeah, there's 9 of them.
A lot of really good teams kind of clumped in the middle. I think Lone Star is one of these really good teams. 5-4. Just 2 numbers on the page, man. Just a 5 and just a 4. When you look at Baltimore, they got 2 numbers too. They got a 6 and they got a 3. And I think that Baltimore, although they did win last week against Queen City, they lost their 2 games before that against Atlanta on the road and at home against Carolina. After starting off so strong, they were 4-1 in their first 5 games. Where am I going with that? Those games were at home, I believe, for Baltimore too. So a good home record there. Now Lone Star Glory is going to need, if they're going to win this game, they're going to do it by taking care of the ball, of course, which you always, that's always mentioned. But Ace is doing a really great job this season taking care of the ball. Second in the league with the second fewest interceptions, only 13. Coming into this game, got a great QBR, 3rd in the league right now, and sacks. Lone Star Glory does a great job of keeping Ace clean in the pocket. Sacked only 13 times this season. So, I mean, obviously, you take a look across the field at what needs to happen. Baltimore has a good defense. Of course, they're the defending champs at home, and they've got some great players on that defense who've been doing some great things this season. 25 interceptions from that secondary. Austin Brigham's got 5 of them. Troy Loshaw 9. He's all over the place, right? So
Yeah.
that's going to be, I think that's the matchup here. Is we know Baltimore on offense is good. Jack Wigmore can sling it. He's leading the league in attempts. They want to throw the ball, third in yards, and you got T-Roy Gaines, at 6-3. Maybe they haven't utilized him as much as they would like to, but they also haven't had to utilize him as much too. I think this game could be a shootout. I do think it's the matchup to watch is Lone Star Glory's offense against the Baltimore defense. Can Ace again spread the ball around? He's had several great games this year with several big wins. Lone Star has, where he's done a great job of distributing, taking care of the ball. If that's the path for Lone Star to win, will it happen? I don't know. I'm not decided yet in my mind who I think is going to win this one, but of course pick'ems are a little bit later. So
that's true. They are a little bit later. Here's what Jack's data thinks. They have Baltimore favored by 3.5. So Baltimore being at home, only favored by 3.5. I think they're expecting a close game. Over under though, a 51.5, which is tied for the highest for the entire weekend. So they're just like you, Benji. Jack's data expecting a shootout in Baltimore this weekend. Moving into the last game, the nightcap game on Saturday, 8th seeded Tulsa. And do I dare say, I'm going to double check it before I do say it. East Division leading Tulsa, traveling to Arizona. Arizona still on the cusp, I think. Oh, by the way, Gunny corrected me. He said if you add in the 3 teams that are on the bubble, for the top 15 teams this week, there's 4 games between the top 15 teams. So Arizona, they're not in the top 15, but they're just after that, it looks like. This game is kind of tough for me to think about, Coco, because I think Tulsa's on a roll, and I know Arizona needs a win. So, which one's more important and which one comes out on top?
I'll text Robert about this one. I think he might be more well prepared.
You think so?
Right?
What's that?
It's just as cold in Arizona, right?
Just a tad bit.
I know you are. So what do you think, Robert?
Yeah, I think this is an extremely interesting game, and it's probably one that at the start of the season a lot of people would overlook. Tulsa has started to catch fire a little bit, beat St. Louis, and took over control of the division. And Arizona has been really on a roller coaster ride through the season so far. If JQ can minimize the amount of interception he throws, and they can take advantage of a couple Ashley Jackson interceptions, Tulsa has a good chance.
AJ, she's what I want to say maybe 3rd or 4th in the league. She threw another 4 this past week against Vegas. Vegas is a tough team though, and they were on the road at Vegas. So, will home field advantage help AJ be a little more comfortable and throw less interceptions this week?
I definitely think that it could. The other thing that obviously they could do is lean on DJ Moses some more. Past game, he had 3 carries for 29 yards, not getting the ball to a very explosive running back. I think that would pick up their offense a whole lot and maybe take a little bit of that pressure off of AJ.
Tell me about this Tulsa team, Robert. I mean, I think – I don't want to take anything away from Tulsa with what St. Louis has been going through last week. Going into St. Louis to squeak out a 4-point victory is no easy feat, and they took care of business. So if they took care of business in St. Louis on the road, is there any reason to think they couldn't do it in Arizona this week?
Yeah, they could definitely do it in Arizona this week. And thank you, Nate, for the correction.
What's that?
DJ was actually injured in the first quarter of the game, so that's why he was out. So my apologies for that. But yeah, it's definitely a possibility. Like I said, this Tulsa team has really caught fire these past few weeks of the season, and if they continue to play smart ball like they have, anything is possible with this team that has a lot of veterans on the defensive side. Yeah,
and Sonzo Robinson's having a great season. Gabriel Manning, as always. What do you think about JQ's play so far this season?
JQ has been extremely hit or miss. Leads or not leads, but is top 10 in completions and attempts and yards. But then, you get to the interceptions and things like that. He's got 23, which is 16th highest in the league right now, and then has been sacked 22 times on the league. Just having some struggles turning over the ball. Otherwise, been playing pretty well on the season. I think that a lot of that was when they pulled some of the pressure off of him as the season got later and worked on using Sanzo a little bit more.
Well, Jack's data, Robert, has Arizona favored by 3.5. So that's 3 games on Saturday that have 3.5 point spread. So they are expecting a lot of close games on Saturday. In addition to that, over under a 45.5, which is about halfway, about midway, it looks like, for the week. Maybe a tad low, not too bad. And this game will be at 8:15 on Saturday. Jack Brown and Gerald Giudicetti on the call. I don't know what him and Trillo, I always mess up both their names all the time, so I think I'm going to start calling them by their initials or something. That wraps up Saturday's slate. We're going to check in with Gunny here in a moment. Gunny, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing good. Are you, I don't think Ray Ray's in the chat. Let me look and see real quick. Let me see if she's in here. No, Ray Ray's not here, so we don't have anybody to post the lyrics to the Marines hymn, unfortunately. So it looks like you're going to have to wing it tonight, Gunny. I will, however, have your music queued up and ready to go whenever you're ready to go.
Well, one day we're going to teach all the audience how to sing the first verse. Everyone should know that the first verse
I think
of the Marine hymn.
Yeah, I'm down with that. I think we need to do that, bro.
Sounds good.
All right, go ahead. I'm ready whenever you are.
All right. Good luck to everyone in week number 10. We have some schedules. The easiest schedule for the last 3 games of the season is Queen City with a record of 8-9 their opponents. The hardest records are all 17-10, which would be Mexico City, Jacksonville, Louisiana, and Sioux Falls. Mexico City sits number 6 right now. Jacksonville sits in 5th place right now. Some other interesting facts. Denver has their last 3 games, all home games. Florida and Atlanta play their last 3 games all on the road. This weekend, the Pacific and the Atlantic play head-to-head. Los Angeles at Portland, Vancouver at San Diego, Florida at Charleston, Jacksonville at Carolina. All the Atlantic teams are in the playoff push right now, as also the South Division is also all in the playoff push. 4 teams with playoff implications, as Dave was talking about earlier. 6th seed Mexico City at Fort Worth, which is the 4th seed. LSG, the 10th seed at Baltimore, the number 3 seed. Florida, the number 2 seed at Charleston, the number 14 seed. Jacksonville, the 5th seed at Carolina, the 12th seed. Those are the top key 4 games of Week 10. And with that, everyone have a great weekend. Good luck again in Week 10. And that is all.
Awesome, Gunny. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. Appreciate you. And I appreciate Cam Irvine filling in for Ray Ray, popping in those Marines hymn lyrics there. Cam, attaboy, way to be on the ball. I appreciate it. Let's move on to Sunday slate. And Coco, I just think that this is the game of the week. The 6th-seeded Mexico City Aztecs traveling to the 4th-seeded Fort Worth Toros. Fort Worth dominating defense, top in almost every category. Mexico City right up there with Vancouver in almost every offensive coordinator or category. Who's going to enforce their will on the other team? Is it going to be Mexico City's offense or Fort Worth's defense this week?
I don't know.
What do you mean you don't know? You're supposed to tell me. You're supposed to have all the answers, Coco. That's why you're here.
This is a hard game because I know when Mexico City went into to play the Glory last week, there's been a lot of things going under the hood with LSG, and it was it's not always the easiest thing to prepare when something like that happens. We kind of actually saw it last year with London when they had a new coaching and people came in and they changed the playbook. They had success. So I can't 100% blame Mexico City for what happened against Lone Star last week. I mean, Lone Star had a good game plan, and I think Mexico just wasn't prepared for it. Whereas going into this week versus the Toros, they have a little bit more of things laid out for them. However, that doesn't really matter because when it comes to the Toros, Curtis is actually fourth best in the league with a 73.67 completion percentage. And while he may be like fourth lowest in the league with a little over 2,000 passing yards, as you can see from that completion percentage, whenever they actually get the ball in their hands, they're efficient. I mean, they lead the league with a 66% third down conversion rate, which I know is not always the best thing along with time of possession, but that's still 66 is a pretty good third down completion rate.
It is.
And then when you look at the Fort Worth Toros, like on the defensive side, they lead everything. It's pretty obnoxious actually, and I'm gonna have to watch my wife gloat again because their turnover differential is 17, plus 17 on the season, and that's
I think the
well
next
beyond-
closest is like 11 or something, right, Kogo? It's
Yeah.
like they're just dominating that category.
which is Portland. And I mean, I love you guys in Portland, but I'm just gonna say when the ball's not in the air, it can't get picked. So I mean, it's crazy, given just what they've been able to do in Mexico City. Listen, we all know Ramos. We know he's a good game planner.
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting to see what he comes out with. But we've denied the Toros in the past, and we've got our butts kicked.
Somebody put in the chat, asked where to go. Basically, Thrilliums versus Phoenix and Bentley on the ground. Now, Lone Star was fortunate enough to hold them to, I don't know, like 50, 60 something yards or whatever it was. Is that key for Fort Worth? And then what about the flip side for Mexico City holding Thrilliums down?
I've watched every Toros game, and I can't predict what Williams is going to do, when he's going to go off and when he's not. You can usually base it off of like what kind of defensive look somebody gets, but it's who knows? The thing is, Mexico City is actually really consistent. They average 300 yards per game in the pass and 100 yards per game in the rush. And again, their two-headed monster over there has performed pretty well. And I think anyone who has a running back, including you, Doyle, I've seen success this season, and that's going to be really, I think, a key is how is Bentley utilized, and what are the Toros going to do against it?
Yeah, well, Florida. You just mentioned Florida. They Mexico City, like them, testing out that two heavy backfield system. Lone Star kind of does it too, I think. It's kind of hit and miss so far, I think, for all of those teams. Jack's data has Fort Worth favored by 3.5, which I think is fitting for them playing at home. Mexico City coming off the loss. Over under, bro, of only 38.5, tied for the lowest of the week. So I think they're leaning maybe a little towards Fort Worth. Their defense showing up more than Mexico City's offense. Moving into game 2, Nate. I'm sorry. Let me go back. I forgot the Sunday at 12:30. Tyler Falk and Ryan Caudell on the call. And you know what? Did I do the 6? Nope. I did. I did that one. All right. So I don't want to leave any of these broadcasters out. We have amazing broadcasters in the SFL, and I want to make sure that we get a little shout out to them. All right. Now, Nate, now we're moving on to you. Next game on Sunday, Houston in the number 9 seed, barely in the number 9 seed. A lot of 5 and 4 teams, including a couple. I think we're 1 or 2 spots behind them as well. Traveling to London, who's just barely on the outside looking in. I feel like this is a must-win for London, but it's almost a must-win for Houston, not necessarily to make the playoffs, because I still think all teams in the South could make the playoffs, but for them to have a higher seed. So what do you think about this Houston at London game?
So I'm going to try to be as nice as possible since Bidgey's on the panel right now. So,
So-
so here's the matchup I'm going to be looking for in this game. All right. So on one side, you've got the offense of London with Angus McLean at quarterback and Merrill at running back. Sometimes 2 weeks ago he didn't have a good game, but last week he got a little more involved in their offense, and that's what helped him beat DC last week.
Right.
And then you got Vin Kalia on one side and Sarian Storm on the other, and Vin Kalia had a big game last week. But all that being said, and of course they got Benji at tight end. All that being said, on the other side of the ball, Houston has a monster defense. They've got two rookies. They've got Marco Swift at one corner with 2 interceptions on the season, and they have Ralgar Law on the other side with 9 interceptions on the season. And now McLean has thrown 19 interceptions on the season to go with his 15 touchdowns. So I think if there's ever a time for Houston's defense to be able to step up and make Angus McLean's life difficult whenever they have the ball, I think this is a game that they can do it in.
What do you make of Houston having some really highs, right? Some really good games, real good wins, like Lone Star. But then last week against Fort Worth, only scoring 7 points. Is that more credit to Fort Worth and Houston just had a bad day? Or do you think Houston may be on the downside? What do you think about that?
So I think Fort Worth, we all know, has a very good defense. They're one of the top defensive teams in the SFL right now, and they were just ready for him that week. Houston just had a down game. And I also think if London makes Houston one-dimensional and cancel out Warren Murray, I think it could be a long day for E.T. King, along with his receivers of D.R. Sim and Leroy Brown at the same time. So it's really a toss-up, and they just have to come prepared on the defensive side for both teams.
We've been pretty tough on Robert Merrill, the halfback for London, on this show. But he showed up last week, and I just pulled it up so I could. 33 carries, 118 yards, 3.6 yards per carry. Does he need to show up again this week for them to have a chance to beat Houston?
He does, because like I said earlier, if Angus McLean is if they make him one-dimensional to throw the ball all day, it could be a very long day for London. I think they need to get, whether it be in the running game or the passing game, because they like those swing routes too to Merrill. If they can get him involved in the offense, I think they have a good chance.
Well, those rookie corners of Houston, Law and Swift, they're the real deal. They're no joke for sure. So I'm sure they're going to give Angus all he can handle this weekend. Jack's data has Houston favored by 6.5 on the road in London. Over under of only 40.5, which is kind of in the lower tier. So probably not expecting a lot of points in that game, although we know Houston's offense for sure can light it up any chance they get. Moving into hey, look at I keep forgetting to give these guys love. This game Sunday, 1:05 p.m. Jeff Melanishin, James Walters on the call. Moving on to Game 3 on Sunday, Benji. Florida at Charleston, another great game. Now Charleston's just barely out of the playoffs, so this is almost like 2 playoff teams. It's a division game as well, and in my view, I think it's a must-win for Charleston, especially if they have any chance at the division. What say you?
If they want to win the division, yeah, absolutely. I think there's still a path for Charleston into the playoffs if they lose this game. Of course, you don't want to lose the game at home. Your team's getting tuned up, making the stretch run, and you're facing one of your foes in the Florida Storm. I definitely think this is an interesting matchup to try and analyze. Florida, of course, coming in at number 2 in the season. They're a powerhouse right now. Interesting stat was already kind of alluded to here earlier. 7-2 Florida record. They're 6-0 at home, right? So far, 6 of their first 9 games were at home, and they won them all. You can say what you will about home field advantage, whether or not it's diminished somewhat or not. But that's a nice record at home, 6-0, and it's nice to have your first, out of your 9 games, 6 of those are at home. That said, though, I'm not dogging on them there because 5 of their total 7 wins are against current playoff teams right now. Throw St. Louis, put an asterisk on St. Louis, and count them as a playoff team. Then 6 of Florida's 7 wins are against playoff teams right now.
Wow.
They're playing really good ball, which is kind of what you expect from a Florida team. And at the helm, the gunslinger, Ron Cochran, is having himself a really great season. The last season, I always seem to get the Florida games, and I always talk about their 0-3 start last season. And Ron Cochran throwing all these interceptions, blah, 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 blah. He's having a great season right now. And Florida got off to a quick start, and they've pedaled to the metal here so far. And Ron Cochran's a huge reason why. Number 1 QBR in the league, number 1 completion percentage in the league. He stands upright too in the pocket, sacked 14 times, which is top 10 in the league. So they're giving him time to throw the ball, and he's throwing the ball well. Every single receiver on the Florida team has more than 250 yards receiving. Even Doyle himself, who's actually at that fullback spot, he's tearing it up, actually. So that's really a unique 1-2 combination that Florida's got going on. Charlie, the Bullet Blitzky, and J.W. Doyle. And the fact that they've got 2 running backs, halfback, fullback, they're both running and catching the ball out of the backfield. And Ron Cochran spreading the ball to everyone. All of his receivers are getting in on the act. Everyone's got at least 2 touchdowns, tons of targets everywhere. They're just throwing the ball. They're doing what they want to on offense, and it's showing in their 7-2 record. Now, Charleston, TD Drew threw 4 touchdowns, only 1 interception last week. So he had himself a good game. And it might be one of those situations where you're going to have to, offensively for Charleston, you're going to have to sling it, to try and keep up with Florida. You might turn the ball over a couple of times. When it comes down to it, it's going to be looking at these numbers maybe for Charleston, and can they keep up offensively with the Storm, who could storm off with this one. It's possible on the road.
Couple comments real quick, Benji, before I get to Jack's data in the chat. One, Doyle says he thinks Benji's on the all-time leaderboards of saying even Doyle.
True.
And I think all 3 times I think you've spoken tonight, Eddie Gage has said, complimented you on your data, and that I need to keep you around. I think Eddie Gage has a man crush on you, bro. So Eddie Gage, man crush on Benji, confirmed. You heard it here first on Access Live. Jack's data has Florida favored by 3.5 on the road at Charleston. Over under a 51.5. This game's on Sunday at 2:40 p.m. Chris Curtis and Josh Zirkle on the call as we move into Game 4. Robert, another. I mean, the way this lineup is Week 10. This might be the craziest lineup we've had, or maybe at least the most competitive. Number 5, Jacksonville. Number 12, Carolina. Another great potential game of the week material type of game. Tell me about it.
This is going to be an extremely exciting game. Carolina having a roller coaster of a season. They get these hot flashes and get going, and then all of a sudden the next week it kind of fizzles out and goes away. And Jacksonville, a team that doesn't necessarily change a whole lot through the season, but the things that they do extremely well. Christian Christensen is top 10 in literally every passing category available, from completions to sacks. Just playing outstanding. 15 interceptions. He's 5th best in the league. Throwing the ball extremely well. And, it's that kind of dink and dunk offense that Jacksonville has always run, the quick outs, the 90 all slants, things along those lines. If Carolina's defense can come out and defend those kinds of things, they have an extremely good chance of winning this game. But if they can't stop the passing game, I don't know what they're going to do.
What does it say about Carolina at home last week to a, what did we say, Portland is 2-7, just squeaking out a 5-point victory, and now you have to host Jacksonville, one of the most potent offenses and highest ranked teams in the league.
I think the big thing with that game, though, is Portland's defense is incredibly tough, and I'm not saying that Jacksonville's isn't, but Jacksonville, a team that is more known for their offense rather than their defense. The defense still very good, but Portland's, as we've kind of said, their defense stays strong and plays extremely well. But as I said, Christian Christensen is a dangerous man, and he's got plenty of receivers he can look to and get the ball to. Ken Gossett leading the league in targets.
Yeah, I mean, he threw for another 300 yards last week in that victory against LA, which I think Jacksonville looks like they just manhandled LA for the most part. There's a lot of good offensive weapons in Jacksonville. We know Jacksonville's always had a great defense and a defensive line led by Hunter Norwood and them. What about Jared Willis, though? Jared Willis, I think, for the first half of the season was probably second behind Peppers for MVP. As of late, he's not quite killing it like he was. Only 57 yards last week. How key is he against Carolina this week?
I think he's extremely important, and the way that they've kind of had to use him as the season's gotten later and teams were able to defend him better is he's kind of just the pace control guy for their offense, averaging about 5 yards a carry, able to get the ball to him, let him get down the field and keep the clock moving, and let CeCe do what he's known for, and kind of commanding that offense down the field.
Got it. Well, Jack's data. Let's see how they picked their own game. Well, they didn't. They called it a pick-em. So they think this game, which I'm a little surprised by, Robert. I think there's a couple other games that seem a little closer than this one that would have been a pick-em over this one. Over under 48.5, though, is in the upper echelon for the weekend. This game is Sunday, 3:15 p.m. Stephen Hacker and Wade Phillips calling this game on Sunday. Going into, what is this, the next to last game already on Sunday. Louisiana, so I mentioned earlier, if Portland loses, they're eliminated. If 3 and 6 teams lose this week, depending on some other things, they could be eliminated or have a 1% kind of chance. Louisiana is one of those teams, and when you're on the ropes and you're hanging by a string, Coco, what do you get to do? You get to travel to the number one team in all the league. So is this just nights out and season over for Louisiana, or are they going to have a little fight left in them this weekend?
I mean, it's we see the same trend week in and week out when we look at Louisiana. Johnny, it's going to be on the shoulders of Johnny because when it comes to Denver and Louisiana, you've got the best. The second best team in the league versus the Rush versus like the 6th or 7th best team against the Rush in the league. Okay, and then on one side of the ball, you have the Cheese, and on the other side you have Reggie. I don't have any bad nicknames for Reggie. He's actually not me out of the playoffs, so I'm not allowed to make bad names about him. And that's. You're talking about the number 1 running back and the number 2 running back in terms of rushing yards. Slight variation in terms of yards per carry from 5.5, you see a 4.6 yard drop. But again, it's 1,230 rushing yards versus 969. Nice. So that's quite, I mean, for how many games we play in a season, you're looking at a 250 yard difference. And that's pretty substantial. Now we all know everything that's happened with Louisiana has kind of caused a little fluctuation on their offense. They've had to go from a 2-guard system to a 1-guard system, whereas Denver is strong with their 2 guards, and of course having the power back versus the finesse back this season. But again, they're still both doing very well. But that protection has kind of hurt Johnny. And the thing is, if you look at, I hate to not base on the player, but take us out of it for a second and kind of just look at how someone's built. Johnny is just still not there. There's a lot of things that are missing that are pretty crucial. And to, your quarterback kind of needs stats in this league. And you pretty much have to put everything you can into him every game to get the most out of him. So it's a broken record thing around here. But again, it's gonna come down to that passing game, and we all know how good Denver is at time of possession, um, limiting their playbook, showing us what they want to show us, and you know, Louisiana again, they're really good against the rush, but their turnover differential is -5 this year, and it's just nowhere near
what it was last season. Yeah,
what it was last.
Yeah.
And their defense is great. The defense is, they still have a lot of the core pieces, and that's what they kept. But the problem is they're seeing it in the passing game, and that's the major difference.
Well, we all know of Louisiana's struggles. I mean, but they have 2 games that they've lost down at the wire by a couple points. One of them being last week. So I mean, they're 2 plays probably away from being 5-4 and being in the playoff hunt, which is kind of just maybe some dumb luck on their part. But I agree. I mean, this is win or die this week for Louisiana. Just having to go to the best team in the league. It's just the wrong time to have your do or die. Jack's Data. Denver only favored by 7.5, so maybe Jack's Data is thinking Louisiana is going to play a little desperate and, see what they can do to pull out a victory at any cost. Over-under also 48.5, just like the Jacksonville-Carolina game. This is the Sunday, the first of the 2 night games, 5 p.m. on Sunday. Tim Hackett, Stephen Mullinex, and then we go into the last game of the weekend, the last game on Sunday. Nate, Sioux Falls coming off that squeaker win that against Louisiana last week against a Vegas team who squeaked out a victory against Arizona last week. So who's going to squeak it out this week?
Well, here's the thing, okay? Tyler and I went over this on Tuesday, how Sioux Falls is now in desperation mode. They have to practically win their last 3 games to have a shot at going to the playoffs this year. And we all know how good Sioux Falls can be on a normal day. Now imagine that team when they're desperate for a win and how scary that can be.
Right.
So I'm looking for Colin Hart to try to have a big game in this game, go for a lot of yards. But Julian Tyree, the quarterback for Sioux Falls, it's pretty documented how he's struggling this season to find his groove.
Right.
But if they want to have a chance of winning this game against Las Vegas, they are on a hot streak right now. They're on a win streak of 3 games, I believe, if I read that right.
Yeah, I think you're right.
So, yeah, Las Vegas is on a hot streak, and now Sioux Falls has to try to put a whole game together and try to win a game against Las Vegas on the road. It's going to be really tough for them to be able to do that at Las Vegas.
Mighty's putting in the chat that Sioux Falls is 3-1 in their last 4. I'm just going to trust him on that. I think the loss must be the Lone Star loss, I'm guessing. But here's the thing. I would take it a step further, Nate. Julian Tyree has thrown a lot of interceptions this season, and Colin Hart has not been the normal Colin Hart. Last week, it took Colin Hart rushing for 139 yards and Julian Tyree not throwing more interceptions than touchdowns to squeak out a 2-point victory against Louisiana. Is that going to be enough to go into Las Vegas and win a game?
That's tough because, like I said, they've got all those weapons over there on Las Vegas's offensive side. Doug Britton over there is one of their receivers, and they're just on fire right now. So I think Sioux Falls is going to have a near perfect game in order for them to pull off an upset against Las Vegas.
Well, let me throw this at you too then real quick. Las Vegas beats Arizona by, I don't know, was it 2 or 3 points, whatever it was. But DJ Moses was hurt for 3 quarters. If DJ Moses isn't hurt and Arizona beats Las Vegas last week, does that change your tune about this week?
It does, because, like you said, Moses was a non-factor. And even with him out of the last 3 quarters of that game, it took Las Vegas and Colin Pierce up until that last drive to finally secure that win.
Right.
So they've shown their own, they let Arizona come back from 16 points down to go ahead by 1. Arizona went on a 17-0 run there in that fourth quarter, and that Las Vegas D finally, was able to shore it up enough there. Well, they didn't really shore it up. Their offense is what won them the game last week.
Right.
So Las Vegas's defense has to shore things up this week in order to ensure that they do come away with a victory this week.
Absolutely. Mighty also just put in the chat. Where'd it go? No one's running away with this game. It should come down to the wire. I agree with that. And then that's why we play the game. And Mike St. Green saying any given sim day. And that's the thing. And you know what, Mike St. Green, I think we could say that more this season than almost any other season. Just going through the slate of games for this weekend, how many of these games are going to be, nail biters? They're going to come down to the wire. They're going to be those 3.5 point spread type of games. It's just unbelievable. Max Jackson popping in said he's ready to play Florida in the playoffs. Uh-oh. Googly eyes. All right, Nate, thank you, bro. That wraps up our Week 10 slate of games, which means we are now moving on to Diva of the Week winner for Week 9, for last week, Season 16, Week 9. Well, I have decided that I'm not going to be the one to announce it this week, so I have asked someone else to pop in and go ahead and tell you, all of you people listening, who is the Season 16, Week 9 Diva of the Week winner. Oh, we're still waiting.
In a world where kickers get no love, where punters are cast away to the shadow realm, one man decided to take matters into his own feet and lead his team to victory. Punching the ball 7 times inside the 20-yard line, with 4 being inside the 5. He was already having an MVP-type game. But when his team needed him most, they looked no further than Dustin the Crack. Dustin the Crack made arguably the best punt of the year, hitting Arizona inside their own 2-yard line. The very next play was a safety. That turned out to be the difference in the game. Fury defeated the Arizona Scorpions by 2 points, 25-23. Now,
oh, Bo, we're losing you.
On the Dave Baxter Show, I give you the Season 16, Week 9 Diva of the Week. I give you Dustin the Crack.
Oh, that's oh, Bo Martin Jr., that was amazing. Thank you so much. Dustin is in the chat, or I'm sorry, in the green room. Dustin, welcome to the show, and congratulations on your Diva of the Week win this week.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So talk to us about all these inside the 20 punts. This isn't the first time I think your name has come up. I think it might be the second time you were dominated, but the first time you won. So obviously you've been doing one hell of a job as a punter this season. Tell me about this past game, though, with all those punts that you were just nailing inside the 20-yard line.
Well, what can I say? I'm here to kick footballs and win jackpots, and I'm broke.
Well, that's what happens when you live in Vegas, bro.
Exactly.
That's it. So, hey, let me ask you real quick while I have you here too. What do you make of Vegas's win streak? Kind of an up and down season, slow start, but they're winning as of late, pulling out which some people may think was a fortunate victory against Arizona due to DJ Moses being injured. But nonetheless, you still won the game. How are you guys feeling right now about this 3-game win streak?
I mean, for me to sit here and say I'm unbiased, I'd be flat out lying to you. So, we're saving. I think we're saving the best for last, and you guys are going to see it on our remaining games.
Well, that's good to hear. We just previewed your game a few minutes ago against Sioux Falls. How are you feeling about this weekend?
Once again, I can't say that I'm unbiased, but I'm feeling very confident. I think it'll probably be closer than I want, but I think we're going to come out on top.
Awesome to hear. Well, congrats on winning Diva of the Week in Week 9, Season 16. Dustin, Bo Martin Jr., who did your introduction there, was the one who nominated you last Tuesday night. And
That was awesome. Thank you.
You got it. You got to stick around and do pick'ems with us?
Sure.
Okay. Bo Martin Jr., are you around here still?
Yes. Can you all hear me okay?
Yeah. We got you now. Unfortunately, the thing went in and out, but I think we're gonna have to get a recording of it so we can put it in the Diva of the Week room on the server, if you don't mind.
I got you.
Okay, perfect. Are you gonna stick around for pick'ems too?
Absolutely.
All right, let's do this. All right, we're gonna whip through these because I want to wrap this up as quickly as possible. Please don't give any commentary. Let's just pick teams and let's get this shindig going. DC, I'm going to start with Benji. Benji, DC at Queen City. Who you got?
Queen City.
Robert Garrett Jr.
DC.
Coco.
Queen City.
One more time.
Queen City.
Queen City. Nate.
Queen City.
Dustin.
DC.
Gunny.
DC.
And Bo.
Queen City.
Queen City. Game number 2 on Saturday. Vancouver at San Diego. Benji.
Vancouver.
Vancouver. Robert.
Vancouver.
Coco.
Vancouver.
Nate. You remember when I said
Vancouver.
Dude, I totally messed that up there one day. Dustin.
Vancouver.
Gunny.
Vancouver.
Bo, are you making this unanimous?
With the upset, I'm going with Vancouver. Had you going, didn't I? Had you going.
All right, game number 3 on Saturday. LA at Portland. Benji.
I'm going to refrain from this one because I'm calling it,
you
and
are.
also I don't want anyone to know I'm a huge Bobby Funk homer.
Okay, well, glad you didn't say that on the air. Robert Garrett Jr.
Going with LA.
LA. Coco.
LA.
You didn't seem so sure. Nate.
Portland.
Portland with the upset. Dustin.
LA.
LA. Gunny.
Los Angeles.
And Bo.
Close, but I'm going Los Angeles.
LA. Okay, so only Nate took Portland, looks like. Okay. 1, 2, 3. Game 4, Atlanta at St. Louis. Benji.
I'm going to go St. Louis on this one.
Playing at home. Robert Garrett Jr.
I'm going to go with Atlanta.
Atlanta. Coco.
Atlanta.
Atlanta. Nate.
I don't care what my wife says. St. Louis.
Dustin.
Atlanta.
Atlanta. Gunny.
Atlanta, you know why?
I always know why. And Bo.
Atlanta.
Atlanta. Okay. So it looks like a couple St. Louis's there. Not too bad. Game number 5, Lone Star at Baltimore. Benji.
Lone Star gets it done.
Woo! Look at you going out on a limb. Robert.
Baltimore.
Well, you want Baltimore, but who do you think's going to win?
Baltimore.
Coco.
Baltimore.
Baltimore. Nate.
Lone Star.
Attaboy. Dustin.
Be more.
Gunny. I know what's up with you, but say it anyway.
Lone Star Glory.
Yep. And Bo Martin Jr.
Glorious Lone Star.
It's always nice to have Lone Star peeps on here, so at least I know we'll get a couple votes at least. Tulsa at Arizona, Benji.
Eddie Gage.
All right. Hold on. I wrote that on the wrong spot. Dude, I almost gave it to Bo Martin Jr. That cool. All right. Robert.
Tulsa.
Tulsa. Coco.
Arizona.
Arizona. Nate.
AJ has a big game. Arizona.
There you go. Dustin.
Arizona.
And Gunny.
Arizona.
Bo.
I believe in Eddie Gage and Ashley. I'm going AZ.
All right. So only Robert took Tulsa in that game. Moving on to Sunday. Mexico City at Fort Worth. Potentially the game of the week, Benji.
Mexico City. Don't tell Robert.
I won't tell him, bro. He doesn't listen to the show anyway.
Okay.
Robert Garrett Jr. I'm shocked by that.
But I wasn't listening, sorry.
Oh, that's all right. Good thing. Coco, are you going with the wife or what?
Or Coco.
What's that?
Yes.
Oh,
Forest.
Nate.
Fort Worth at home.
Fort Worth at home. Dustin.
Fort Worth.
Gunny.
Fort Worth.
And Bo.
I'm gonna go oddball here. Mexico on the get back.
There you go. All right. Benji, game number 2 on Sunday. Houston at London.
Psh, London.
You think? Robert.
I'm taking London on an upset.
Wow, look at you. Coco.
Not London.
Not London. Gotcha. That's perfect. Nate.
Houston.
Dustin.
London.
Gunny. Oh, you need
London.
London.
You know why?
Due to your rule of not picking divisional foes. Bo Martin Jr.
I'm going London with the upset.
Okay, good deal. Benji, let's go move on to Florida at Charleston.
Florida.
Florida. Okay. Robert.
Going Florida.
Florida. Coco.
Florida.
Nate.
Florida.
Florida. Dustin McCrack. Oh, where'd he go?
Florida?
Did we lose him? There he is. Hey, you're welcome, Harish. Dustin, are you there?
Yeah, you hearing me?
Yeah, there you go. Now we are.
Okay, Florida.
Florida. Gunny.
Florida.
And Bo.
Colorado.
All right. Benji, we're moving on to Jacksonville, Carolina.
Saxonville.
Oh, look at Doyle in there, a Hall family member picking Florida. Big eyes. I'm sorry. You said Jacksonville? Okay. Robert.
Jacksonville.
Coco. Nate.
All you need is Mike All, Jacksonville.
There. All you need is Mike. Bum, 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 bum. Dustin McCrack.
I'm going with a pick'em.
Ooh, look at you with the pick 'em. You only get one. I don't know if you've heard the show before on this. Everybody only gets one potential pick 'em, so that's yours. You used it.
Yes, sir. That's it.
All right, Gunny, go ahead.
I'll go with Carolina at home.
All right, and Bo.
All day, baby. Jacksonville.
Jacksonville.
That's my lock for the week.
Oh, I'm writing it right here. Lock for the week. Got it. Next to last game of the weekend, Louisiana at Denver. Benji.
Denver.
Robert.
Denver.
Coco.
Denver.
Nate.
Ugly get uglier. I'm going Denver.
Yeah. Dustin McCrack.
Louisiana.
What? All right, Gunny.
Denver.
And Bo.
Denver.
All right, last game of week 10. Sioux Falls at Vegas. Benji.
Las Vegas.
Las Vegas. Robert.
Vegas at home.
Coco.
Yeah, let's go Vegas.
Nate.
Trap game, Sioux Falls.
Ooh. Dustin McCrack.
Oh, you know what I'm going with.
But I want to hear you say it, bro.
Las Vegas.
I didn't know if maybe you had some debts to pay or something. Gunny.
Las Vegas.
Okay. Bo Martin Jr., you got the last words on Pick'ems for week 10.
Pick'ems Las Vegas. How about that?
Perfect. All right, look at Kendra Hall. Come on, Dave. Lisa's waiting at the door. Hey, my goal was to be off the air by 10:30, and we're going to do it because we have no After Dark here. I am going to make one quick note before we sign off, though. Is for those of you who voted on the You're Muted Bro t-shirts, I've got the design finalized. Eagle's going to put a poll in the Access Live server that just has like how many you think you would want, sizes, men's, women's, all that kind of stuff, so I can get a number of how many t-shirts people want, and then that'll help me. There's no commitment yet, so don't get all crazy. That's going to help me find out what the price is going to be, so then I can let you guys know how much they're going to be. So Your Muted Bro t-shirts, poll will be in the Access Live server at some point. I don't know if Eagle's listening tonight or if he's working or feeding Elsie, but he'll get that on at some point, and we'll let it go all the way through the weekend till Tuesday. All right. That's the last thing that I wanted to say there. Thank you to Benji Matson, Robert Garrett Jr., Mike Percoco, and Nate Hall with his debut. Yes, I do, Mike St. Green. It's called a large. Thank you to Bo Martin Jr. Special thanks to Bo Martin Jr. for popping on and doing that. And, of course, thank you to our Week 9 Diva of the Week winner, Dust in My Crack. Did I pronounce that properly? I'm sorry.
That was perfect.
For Week 9 Diva of the Week. So congrats on that again. Good luck, everybody, Week 10. I'm going to be hitting the road in about 10 minutes on my way to Ohio to see the Halls with my lovely wife, Pink Lisa. Look at that. I'm also jazzed. I forgot to change the graphic. There you go. And so we will see you Tuesday. Have a glorious weekend of games. And I was going to say I'll see you at the T's, but I'm going to see the Halls at the O's. Oh, hi, oh. I'm out.